What if there's something that you haven't learned yet that could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I am Sherry Elise, a five-time published author and host of the award-winning talk show Good Morning Joy. And I am here in partnership with Brave Healer Publishing to introduce you to some of the amazing authors of one of their newest books called Om La La, The Power of Positivity Guidebook. And before I introduce you to the lovely woman here with me, I just want to give a shout out to their lead author, Julie Williams. Julie, thank you so much for bringing this guidebook together, for bringing 25 experts who are going to help us live more positively, to have tools that can help us transform and to live a life more aligned with who we are. So, to let you know a little bit about my guest today, this is Anya Wood, and she bridges psychotherapy, coaching, and reprogramming the subconscious to help people create lives and relationships of their dreams. Welcome, Anya.
Thank you. Hi, Sherry.
I'm so happy to have you here today. I loved reading your chapter. I feel like I related to so much of it, of just so
Mm.
often being in that in between and having to surrender and let go. I'm not going to give much more away, but I just want to say that it was beautifully written and you carried me as a reader on the journey. Share with all of us the name of your chapter, the chapter number, and talk to us a little bit about it, as well as why you decided to write it.
Okay, yeah, so it's chapter 6, and the title is Taking a Risk on Your Dreams, How to Start Your Soul-Led Business. And it's a story about the biggest ego death in my life. I had just graduated from CIIS with a master's in counseling psychology, so I was just going straight from grad school into starting my private practice. And it was such a deep soul learning of how to actually do my soul's work in the world. That whole year was like the death of these old patterns of like the you have to work hard and you have to work yourself to the bone to be successful,
Mhm.
which wasn't really in alignment with if I am here to help people, if that's my mission is to help people be healing and living as healthy, vibrant lives as possible. How could that possibly work if I'm operating from scarcity? Like, how could I hold space for
Mhm.
somebody to step into wholeness if I'm not just living in that vibration? And so the chapter kind of goes into the story of listening to my intuition, listening to channeled guidance. I started channeling, which was really like, what is this information coming through? But it feels really true and wise guidance. And and basically I got to this point where I devoted my work to God, like just like divine love God, not Sky Daddy,
Mhm.
like religion God, but
Huh.
um just like, okay, I'm employed by the divine to help people move into more wholeness and thriving. And so I have to be in alignment completely with that level of wholeness and thriving um and working from a full cup. And so yeah, it was like a ego death kind of experience of that old part of me that like was like my immigrant father's voice in my head
Mm.
of like you just have to work really hard to being like, well, I have to actually have balance and feeling like there was a fight going on between my intuition and that workaholic part that was like, well, you're gonna starve. You're literally on food stamps right now. Like
Right.
and just things just when I actually let go and was like, okay, fine, what'll happen if I actually try loving myself? What if I'm like operating like I'm the main character of a book that I'm loving reading and I'm
Yeah.
actually loving myself? Like what'll happen? And then just like everything just miraculously like unfolded into grace I just never hustle. I've like never like from that time, like I just, never, it never like, I never needed to. It never like worked for me
Hmm.
when I tried to. And I just sort of like, I make space in my consciousness, in my being, in my energy field. And then like the clients that are meant to come to me.
It was powerful because I think whether you have an immigrant parent, although I know what that can be like, I think we live in a hustle culture that even when I started a business, I was told, you work all the time. There's no time off. Like you're an entrepreneur. This is a startup kind of thing, and every part of me was like, this doesn't really feel right. Like, especially with what you said, that if you have these clients and you're trying to help these people. And so I think what I was so inspired by your chapter is that number one, it's not easy to just let go, to trust. And you had to really find that trust space to be able to take your hands off the wheel, to
Mhm.
recalibrate, to realign, and to give yourself that space to find your way. Did you, because it's a big thing to do. Like, did you always have that part of you that had that trust in it, or was that just like, I got nowhere, know what else to do except just throw my hands up?
I think it's the latter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was like a kicking and screaming ego dash, like
Uh,
the old part, like gripping like really hard.
yeah.
And I think I've always like been intuitive, but I
Hmm.
hadn't really lived from that place and trusted that place in myself so deeply. And so it was actually a lesson in trusting my own intuition. And then that's of course come in handy with the work I do when I'm
Right.
like working with couples and it's like a sticky situation and like, whoa, where do we go from here? I just usually, like, if I'm in that, like, what do I do? This is kind of a tough moment kind of place. I don't try to like think from my head. I've learned that, like, the best way through those moments to guide people into like a little miracle breakthrough is actually just quiet and wait for the guidance.
Yeah, my whole body relaxes when you say that because we're always, not always and not we, but like a lot of times, oftentimes we're holding so tightly because we think that if are in control, that we can control. And it's often, I have found in my experience that the tighter we hold, the more what you want, pulls away naturally. So you just left us with the practice, which I love about these books, is that it's not just your story, which was so vulnerable and inspiring, especially in your position, but also to be able to give us that practice to walk away and go, okay, well, how can I live a life of alignment? How can I follow my intuition? And that was really great. When we think about the power of positivity, those who are reading this book, that's what they want. They want to live a life of positivity. If there's someone who is a beginner right now, is there some tip that you can share that might help them begin this journey?
Yeah, okay. Um, well, as simple and cliche as it might sound, gratitude is actually really, really powerful. Yeah, my husband and I recently started like saying our gratitudes every morning. And like I've been through a lot of like up leveling cycles in my life, and especially like that one that I write about from like 2010, where I really discovered like, okay, gratitude really is powerful. But then, I kind of like, oh, I've kind of manifested a lot of things I want, and you kind of like get a little complacent
Uh-huh.
um, and then it's like we just recently moved from Maui to the Azores and we took on this estate and all of a sudden we're like, we need to like call in like a lot more life force, abundance, everything. We need to like up level. And so we have been doing a few practices, but actually just like the gratitude every day, spoken out loud, especially like spoken out loud to somebody where you're like vibing off of each other.
Hmm.
Uh,
Love
it's like
that.
we are like we've been married for 11 years. We've been together for 13 years and we're like in a level of yummy sweetness with each other that's like
Hmm.
right like it feels like when we first moved in together, right before we got married, like
I love
we're at this
that.
next level together, and we've been doing like, various different practices, but the regular daily morning gratitude spoken out loud really feels like it's like a rewiring our nervous systems, and it's like there's my baseline level of nervous system regulation has just like got to an
Yeah.
even yummier place.
I think that's going to be so helpful for people because, as you said, like it seems so cliche, but it is the most powerful. It brings you back to presence. It invites more into your life. I love that. And I think that's such a great practice. Last question for you. What is the most important thing that you want people to know today? And I'm going to go straight off your book's title about taking a risk on their dreams.
Okay, so I'm gonna go in a spiritual direction with this, just that's like
Uh-huh.
the person that I am. I think that there is magic in working with something bigger than yourself. And so if you think about like if you I mean I think probably your audience, they're reading like a book like this, they're
Mhm.
probably inclined to be spiritual people. So you can imagine like there's something beyond just your egoic mind that is calling you into service. There's a deeper soul purpose that is calling you. And so if you want to live into that dream and take a risk on your dream business, then tune in to that part of you that's connected to something beyond just your egoic mind. Like, however you feel that calling, that like something bigger, something wiser, something guiding you, work with it so that it doesn't only have to be your little human egoic mind creating this business. Like tune into that bigger thing so that you can just be employed by the divine, and it's
I
just
love that.
so much easier and more flowful that way.
Ah, thank you. I love that. Be employed by the divine, folks. Thank you so much, Anya, for being here, for not just writing this book, but for the work that you do in the world and sharing it with everyone. And then, of course, to our listeners, I want you to know that this is so much more than a book. This whole entire group of authors is a generous community who is there for you to answer questions, carry on conversations, and to support you on your journey. So, if anything Anya and I talked about today resonated with you, be sure to go down to the show notes because we've shared her link there so you can connect with her. Feel free to explore. And then, of course, we hope that you hop on over to Amazon today and grab a copy of your book today, of her book today. The link is also below. And then, lastly, the Brave Healer community wants you to remember that your words will change the world when you're brave enough to share them. It's time to be brave, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Anya.
Thanks.